Hello, this is a video about a day in the life of a Stratis pool, and we are going to explore a bit how Stratis behaves and try to figure out what the different sizes mean, and of course also show the Cockpit UI and maybe get some ideas how to improve all that if possible. So let's make a pool. And we are going to make a small pool, 2 gigabytes. That's maybe not realistic, and maybe the actual behavior with your 20 terabyte pools will be different. But I hope, nevertheless, interesting here now. So we keep over provisioning on because we don't really know what that is, and we want to see how Stratis behaves by default. So we create that. Here's the pool. If you look at the usage, you can see that there's already 500 megabytes about in use, and we don't have any file systems yet. That's some metadata overhead used for thin provisioning, I think, and this is now 1/4 already. But of course, if you have a proper pool that is much bigger than these 2 gigabytes, then you probably only have the same 500 megabytes of metadata or a little bit more. And yeah, but it's good now to see a large overhead here because it plays also into the file system sizes. So let's make a new file system. Also, all the defaults, we want to write data into it, so we mount it at the same time. Here's the file system. It also has 500 megabytes of usage already, and that's now the overhead from the XFS metadata. And if you click on this now, you see it a bit bigger. And there's also a significant chunk of this file system. But the reason for that, which might not be interesting at this point, but is that the virtual size of this file system is very large, is 1 terabyte, and XFS thinks it's appropriate to use 500 megabytes of this 1 terabyte for metadata, and it's of course completely right in doing that, but that means it's already 1/3 full, our file system. Again, that's an effect of our toy sizes here, but at least we can see them clearly. And also you see the usage here, or the total size is only 1.6 gigabytes, although the pool is 2.1 gigabyte. And that's because of the thin provisioning overhead, which has been subtracted here. So that means this thing can be at most 1.6 gigabyte large, or store at most 1.6 gigabyte of data in a 2 gigabyte pool. It's already a bit confusing, but if you think about it, I think Cockpit does a good job of presenting these numbers. And over provisioning used to be blue. It's on, but now it's already gray. And if you hover over it, you can see that no, we can't switch it off anymore. It's too late now after creating the first file system because of the virtual size of this file system. This is much larger than the pool, and it cannot be reduced. And that's the meaning of over provisioning, that the virtual sizes of all your file systems together are larger than the capacity of the pool. And yeah, but this is all default Stratis, so let's write some data into it. Here's the terminal. Here's a prepared command. This is about a 7 gigabyte file that we copy over slowly to the file system. Slowly because we want to watch a little bit how the numbers change, and yeah, let's see what happens. So it writes 100 megabytes per second. Will take a minute now. I guess we will wait for that. But we can see if anything has changed here. Not really. No, now the numbers don't make any sense anymore. Looks full. but it was bigger. Now it's 500. So the reason is there's some bug somewhere, and we missed the notification of the usage number in the file system. And if you look at the pool is completely full now. And because of the way Cockpit computes things, because of the wrong usage number in the file system, now everything is accounted for as overhead in the pool, which means the usable size of the file system goes down. And so it's a bug, and we can fix it by reloading Cockpit. Then it gets the right usage number. And of course, the pool is still completely full now. And but now the correct size of the file system is back. And this one is also full now. And let's see what our copy is doing. Oh, it has succeeded. It has copied 7 gigabytes into a 2 gigabyte Stratis pool. And the pool, of course, is maxed out. 1.6 gigabyte should be here in this file system. And everything is full, but no error here. So let's see. 'How does that look? 7.1 gigabyte has been copied. Interesting. So of course we can't read this now. I mean, not of course, but we can't expect to read it. I was actually expecting the copy operation to get I/O errors, at least. If we don't get proper out-of-space errors, should at least be an I/O error, like that half of your RAID device has disappeared or something. But yeah, let's unmount the file system. That works. And let's mount it again. Same place, of course. It's also fine. And let's see. Now we only have 900 megabytes left. That makes sense. 900 megabytes plus 500 overhead. And it's about 1.6 gigabyte, more or less. And so that's what we could have expected to write into the file system. And that's what ended up being there. But previously, the good old Linux has lied to us about how much data is there. So that's not a good experience, obviously. I mean, it was stupid to try to copy 7 gigabytes into a 2 gigabyte pool, but not getting any errors about it is not a good situation. So over provisioning is the problem here. And looks like it was a mistake to switch over provisioning on. But now we can't switch it off anymore. And anyway, our data is corrupted. And in different situations, the actual XFS metadata would be corrupted also, and the file system would need to be repaired, and then your file is gone anyway. So let's delete this thing here now. Okay, now we're back at the beginning, and over provisioning can now be switched off. So we do that because we didn't like it. And now we get a new line here that says how much is allocated in the pool. This is the same 1.6 gigabyte number that is left over after subtracting the overhead here. And if we now make a new file system, we are kind of forced to look at these options here that we have ignored earlier. Now we can manage, or we have to manage, the virtual size. We can specify the initial virtual file system size. That was the 1 terabyte earlier, but we don't want that. Let's say we make it 1 gigabyte only. There's still some space left in the pool. And we mount it at the same spot. So first thing maybe worth mentioning is that now initially it doesn't use 500 megabytes anymore for metadata, but a lot less because the file system is now a lot smaller, and XFS, of course, is not going to use half of a 1 gigabyte file system just for its own metadata. It is not that inefficient. And so that's already better. And yeah, I have to look at my script here. Let's do the copy again. Let's see how it behaves this time. Back to the terminal. Copy it again. Let's watch what happens here. The usage will probably not change. But look, the virtual size has changed. It is now the same as the capacity of the pool, kind of. And now this usage goes wrong again. So let's just reload and get the good numbers. Okay, now this looks full. So we have written a little bit more than 1 gigabyte. Yes, so that worked. And we got a proper error message. No space left on device. This is nice. Let's see how this looks. 1.4, yeah. So that's what we have expected. And yeah, so why does Stratis behave like it does in its default configuration? When you just make a pool and make a file system, then you get a 1 terabyte virtual size, which behaves really badly if you actually try to use it. And I guess one reason is that growing XFS file system is actually not recommended. If you go from the smallest size to the largest size, if you grow it by more than a factor of 8, I think people don't recommend it because it doesn't rebalance its internal data structures, maybe. So I guess that's probably the reason why they start with a very large one. It could be somehow adapted to the pool size, but of course pools are also meant to be grown. But then again, it's probably unlikely that you grow a pool by more than 8 times its initial size. So yeah, maybe something could be done there. It wouldn't help, of course, as long as over provisioning is allowed, you will run into the same kind of problem. So it doesn't really make a difference whether it's 1 terabyte or something that's closer to the pool size. But we have seen that Stratis can grow the file system automatically. So maybe we can use that and make a file system that is very small in the beginning anyway, and we know it's not going to grow a whole lot. But yeah, let's let Stratis grow the file system automatically from the minimal size. And shrinking is not supported, so we have to delete this. Over provisioning is off, nothing is allocated. Create a new file system, smallest possible size, mount it again. Okay, here it is, looks like before, but now it's only half the size. And let's do the filling again. I hope that's interesting now. So let's see. Oops. Yeah, I've expected that. I wasn't sure it's going to happen, but now it already failed after 400 megabytes. But we expected the file system to grow, like in the last case. So, and it has grown, but only once. And it ran out of space before the growing could actually finish, I think. So there's a race going on. If you write too fast and maybe at the wrong time, then you still run out of space, although the file system could grow. So that's another reason why you don't want to start with the smallest one, maybe, but you should get a size that's pretty close to what you expect to use. But this means now that out of space is a temporary condition, and you can just retry, and this time you can write more. That's maybe a new thing, that running out of space is needs a retry. I think in the end everything needs a retry. So now we get back to the same number that we had before. And these numbers are wrong again, so let's reload. And yeah, that's what we wanted without the hiccup in the middle. And yeah, I think there's no great conclusion to be drawn from this. It's just it's a finicky system. Doesn't hide its inner workings very well, I think, Stratis. And let's just move on. And you might have seen this thing here, the virtual size limit. So what is that about? And this is, yeah, it will limit the automatic growth of your file system. So of course, if over provisioning is shut off, then the file system will never grow to be larger than the capacity in the pool. But if you have more than one file system, they will still fight each other a little bit, and whoever grows the fastest will get the most space of the pool. And maybe you don't want that, so you can set a size limit here. It can never be smaller than the file system already is, and it can also not be larger than the pool. So this thing is now as large as the pool can be, so we can only set the same value here. And yeah, so, but it's only a limit that limits the growth. It's not any kind of reservation of the size. So you're not guaranteed that the file system can grow to this size. And also actually Stratis allows you to set arbitrary limit. So let's put this to 5 GB now. It's possible. The slider doesn't let you do it, but if you type in the numbers, Cockpit will close its eyes and say, yeah, if Stratis accepts it, I'll let it pass. So now the limit is at 5 GB. And yeah, so you still have to do your calculations on a piece of paper to make sure that your limit does not allow over provisioning if that's what you want to use it for. In a pool that would ordinarily allow over provisioning. So it's another knob. Yeah, I think if you really care about file system sizes and you want to monitor and watch this very closely, you might be better off not using Stratis and just setting up LVM2 pool and make normal logical volumes in it, linear layout, and just grow and shrink them with a file system of your choice. And Cockpit makes that quite easy. So it's not that you would have to replace a single Stratis command line invocation with 10 individual ones to manage LVM2. Cockpit, it's pretty easy to do that, growing and shrinking file systems, especially. Yeah. Okay. And also now you're managing these things and you still have the overhead of the thin provisioning in the middle, and you try very hard to not actually use any features of that thin provisioning. So what's the point actually? And I think the point is snapshots. What you get from thin provisioning is a cheap way to make copy of a whole file system. And you can't do that ordinarily, but you could do it here now. And there's, of course, it's enabled by the copy on write mechanisms that are implemented by the thin provisioning layers. And yeah, let's play with that. But first, you can see that we can switch over provisioning on, I guess. Yeah, it's gray. It's not disabled. Okay, but you can't create any more file systems anymore. There's not enough space. It's the whole thing, the whole pool is fully allocated. We also cannot make snapshots anymore. There's also not enough free space. And so we will want to switch over provisioning on now. And I have prepared a little trap for us here actually, because now the size limit is too large. Maybe you can also say, okay, we didn't even know about the size limit, so we have not limited the size of this file system. And it's pretty full, but it's okay. We haven't actually run out of space now, but it still is full, and we want to make a snapshot now. And but we cannot because there's not enough free space. And then we figure out, okay, if you switch over provisioning on, then it should work. And now we can create file systems and we can create snapshots. And I would actually, yeah, okay, it has happened. A bit delayed, but now this knob is grayed out and we can't switch the over provisioning off again because this file system was pretty full, Stratis thought it's a good idea to increase the virtual size so that we can write more data to it, because why not? And over provisioning is allowed now, so let's make it bigger. But that means now we can never switch over provisioning off again. So we really should have set the limit on this thing to something that will allow us to switch over provisioning on and then off again, if we like to. Because I guess the use case would be to switch it on temporarily, make a snapshot, be done with the snapshot, delete the snapshot again, and then switch it off again so that you're safe, or that you get, as safe as you can be, that your applications don't get confused. So, but now, this little trap is here. I don't know if Cockpit should protect against it, but right now it's just raw Stratis, and that's what you have to deal with. Let's start over, delete, and let's start with let's show at least the normal snapshotting process. So, file system, we leave a little bit room, don't know what we need it for. Don't mount it this time. Oh, let's mount it. Okay, here it is. Can't create anything new anymore. There's still 2 megabytes unallocated here, but that's not enough for our XFS file system. It needs to be at least 500 megabytes. So can't create anything new anymore. Can't create a snapshot. There's not enough free space. Snapshot needs as much space as the virtual size of the file system that you make a copy of. And there isn't enough for it in this case. But yes, we have learned we can switch over provisioning on. And now all the magic is possible. Now we can use more space than we actually have. And we make a snapshot of this. Don't mount it. And now we keep using the file system, let's say, and at the same time we make a copy of the snapshot to some backup media, and we watch very carefully that this thing doesn't run out of space, and then we are done, and we can delete the snapshot. And now it's possible to switch over provisioning off again, and we are back to where we started. If Stratis hasn't decided to grow this file system in the meantime. So it would be really helpful to put the limit on it when you switch over provisioning off. What's it off or on? If you switch over provisioning on, and all the limits should make sense. There shouldn't be any unlimited file system at the time, I guess, and all the limits should add up to something that's less than the pool. Otherwise, you really risk growing your file systems so much that you can never switch over provisioning off again. But maybe that's what you want. Maybe Cockpit shouldn't be so smart and worry about that. But I think that's what you get when you start playing with all the knobs that Stratis has. Okay, that was a long day in the life of a Stratis pool. and we didn't break it. In the preparation of this video, I managed to confuse Stratis enough that I had to actually reboot before I could clean up again. But this hasn't happened now. There's the bug with the missing notification for file system usage, and I'll try to figure that out. And of course, there's the endless possibilities of Cockpit preventing you from doing stupid stuff like switching over provisioning on without having proper limits on your file system. But yeah, I'm not sure how much we should invest in that. Okay, thanks a lot.